This last year was quite the year, filled with a lot of ups, a lot of downs, and I feel like I implemented a lot of good things that I'm happy about, and I also took out some things that I was pretty happy about to see different stuff like cutting out caffeine to see the effects that would have on me, and I just made a video on that, so if you haven't seen it, you should go check that out. And another thing that I ended up cutting out was actually alcohol, and it kind of stumbled upon me on accident. I didn't really set a goal at the beginning of the year that I'm going to go the whole year without drinking alcohol. It was kind of in March, and I had already set the goal for no caffeine in the year. And in March, a friend asked me to come over, and they're like, let's have a few drinks and we'll just have a good time. And then I realized I hadn't had anything to drink that whole year. So from January to March, and it was actually a little bit before January that when I did have my last drink. So as you can tell, I'm not a big drinker. And when March came and they asked to come over and have some drinks, I was like, you know what? Let's also do that with caffeine and not drink alcohol throughout this whole year. Now, like I said, I'm not a big drinker in the first place anyways. Before, I would maybe have a few casuals here and there if I did go out. I did oftentimes find myself struggling to just limit myself to like maybe 1, 2, or 3 drinks. And I would find myself drinking a little bit too much. And also when I would drink, this was more so in college than after college, I would do a lot of stupid stuff. And I'm not a big fan of it. Some stuff is funny, and then other stuff it's just like you just shake your head the next day when you realize that's what you did and or said. What I decided to do was add that on to not drinking caffeine throughout the whole year and just not drinking alcohol as well, and just see how it would go, because I'm honestly not a big fan of it, because in my mind I feel like I'm wasting 2 days, because for me, I'm a pretty big introvert and it takes like a whole day for me to prepare to actually go out that night. So it's like I got to know in advance I'm going out Friday night, and then Friday I'm kind of preparing to go out Friday night, and then I feel like I'm kind of wasting Friday because that day's spent preparing and then I'm drinking and then staying up late. And then the next day, Saturday, is basically spent sleeping on the couch, taking naps, and not doing anything, sitting in front of the TV, just wasting the whole day. And to me, I feel like I'm wasting 2 days, and sometimes now, probably not, but because I'll just power through it. But now that I'm getting older, hangovers last maybe a couple more days than just that typical one day, and maybe I'm just up and running that next day. So sometimes it does happen and I just try and power through the hangover on the next day, but typically I'll find myself laying on the couch watching TV, taking naps. And then what that ends up doing is when I take those naps, it ends up ruining my sleep on Saturday night. And then when Saturday night comes and I try to go to sleep, it kind of ruins that day. And then Sunday I'm tired, and it just kind of gets you in a bad little routine or ritual. So that's a couple reasons why I'm not a big fan of drinking in the first place. And I feel like this is kind of ironic that I'm doing this video now, and last night on the TV, they were talking about alcohol and how bad it is. There's all these reasons as to why you shouldn't drink, but the government's never going to take it away, because what they said is it's a $1.2 trillion industry, and you're obviously not going to take that away because it generates so much money, and it's maybe $1.2 trillion just specifically on alcohol. I don't know if it's including the whole umbrella effect that it might cause, but if it's only $1.2 trillion on alcohol, it has a huge impact that separates outside of that. So they're obviously not really going to get rid of it because it has such a huge impact. For me, I'm honestly really happy that I did this and took the year off from drinking, and unlike caffeine and coffee, going back to being excited to have another drink of coffee or have caffeine in me, I don't see myself going back to alcohol because there's so many benefits to just not drinking. And you'll often hear people or studies say that 1 glass is good for you or 1 glass is fine. But even though studies say that 1 glass of wine is fine for you, 1 glass is just fine for you, sometimes that often doesn't just lead to 1 glass. Some people will be like, it's just 1 glass, and then 1 glass leads to 2, and 2 leads to 3. So there's that, but they don't really say what the negative effects to it is. It's just kind of more a marketing tactic to say 1 glass is fine for you, to just maybe go out and buy it, and then people will think, oh, I can have 1 glass of wine because this person said it's fine for me. So if they just have 1 glass of wine, say, every single night, that's 365 glasses throughout the year, which can add up over time. But when you're looking at it on a micro scale, 1 day or 1 week, just having 1 glass of wine every night doesn't seem too bad. But then once you start adding that up to over a year, over 5 years, over 10 years, that 1 glass just added up to so many, and it might not just be 1 glass that night. It might lead to 1 or 2 or 3. To me, it just kind of seems like a marketing tactic to try and get people to drink and try and get people out there and just having, oh, one drink because it's not bad for you. But at the same time, if you are able to do it in moderation, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And as long as you're able to control it and it doesn't really control you, I feel like it's fine. So going back to me and how I was able to do this, and I feel like a big factor of it plays into that I'm a big introvert and I'm not big on going out and having parties and drinking nonstop. And I'd rather just sit in my room and, I don't know, work on a business or work editing videos or sit at home and do nothing is kind of more my style. So I think that has a big aspect to it. But at the same time, it's just learning to say no whenever someone says, hey, let's have a drink, or whenever there's alcohol readily available, just having that willpower to say no. And I think it also stems from the store. Whenever you're there, just avoid buying it. And that's kind of what I did. I just didn't have any of it in my house. And if I did, it may have led to the temptation to just grab some alcohol and have it because it's so easily available. And then there were some tough times because there's obviously that peer pressure. And in comparison between caffeine and alcohol, I honestly think it's a lot harder to quit alcohol just because there's that social peer pressure of people saying, oh, it's just one drink, oh, just have one drink. And you don't really hear people saying that with coffee and trying to shove coffee down your throat and be like, oh, it's just one drink, because it doesn't have that same social aspect of it. So there were some times when I was with some friends or family and they're like, oh, it's just one drink, oh, just have one drink. And with coffee, it's completely different. They aren't trying to force it down you. So I feel like those are the two aspects of it. And it was a lot harder to quit alcohol for sure. And it's just having that willpower, because the one time I was at a friend's house and she just kept bugging me. She's like, just have one drink, just have one drink. And I was like, no, I have a goal of not drinking this year. And I'm not going to just have one drink, because it's not just one drink. So it's just having that willpower, which can honestly be really tough at times. So it takes some time to build up, but it's just eliminating yourself in those circumstances to try and avoid them in the first place. So if you're going over to a friend's house and you know everyone's going to be drinking and there might be that peer pressure, try and avoid that situation. Or going out to the bar with your friends, it's just maybe avoiding it, or saying that you're the DD and, I don't know, maybe tape your keys on your chest and be like, I'm driving tonight or something like that. I don't know. It's probably not actually going to happen, but just being able to avoid those situations. And if you do have that willpower to say no when that opportunity does arise, that's perfect, because that's the hardest part to do. Another big benefit to quitting alcohol is that you're going to save a lot of time and money. I say time because it's a lot of times that you're maybe avoiding these situations that you might not want to go to, where people are going to the bars and you just don't want to go out there. So it's avoiding losing out on time, and maybe you can put that time to somewhere else. But I think money is another big aspect of it, because maybe you are going to bars and you're buying drinks for people, and that adds up really quickly. So it's avoiding those circumstances. So you're getting back a lot of time and you're also saving a lot of money, which I'm a big fan of. So those are a couple benefits that I had to quitting alcohol throughout this year. And moving forward, I'm honestly probably going to stay to not drinking alcohol, because I'm honestly a big fan of just not drinking alcohol and cutting it out, save the time, save the money. And with caffeine, I was really excited to get back to drinking caffeine or coffee just to keep me awake throughout the days. But I think alcohol has a lot more downsides than upsides in comparison to caffeine. So I think alcohol is going to be something that I plan on cutting out as much as possible. And I'm not really looking forward to going back to drinking or getting my first drink in from alcohol. So whereas with caffeine, I was more so excited to get back to having another cup of coffee and get some caffeine in me to see how it does affect me, if there is any big difference. So I know that quitting alcohol can be a really tough task to do. Harder for some people, easier for others. Like myself, it was a little bit easier just because I had already been pretty conditioned to not drinking very often. I honestly rarely drank in the first place, and I think the pandemic had a big aspect on it. And I was never really one to just go to the store, buy alcohol just for like casuals at home. I don't know, I've just never been like that. But halfway through college, I just kind of stopped drinking slowly. I kind of slowly tapered off, and I was in a routine where I was like always drinking nonstop, and then I slowly tapered off. And it just takes some time, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be really tough in the start. So it's just kind of slow progress at the start, being able to work your way up there and slowly weed it out. And I think a big aspect of it is having the willpower to say no, avoid buying it, and maybe just having that why. And for me, my why was I just didn't want to be wasting those days. I just wanted to be spending my time elsewhere, like going to the gym. I want to say homework, but I didn't really do very much homework, but I guess I did go to class every day. So it was just spending my time elsewhere and just having that why. So if you have that why on why you want to quit, I think that's going to help a lot. And then just having that willpower to say no and avoiding those circumstances is going to help a lot. So if you are trying to quit, just know that there are so many people out there that are more than willing to help you quit or help you overcome it. So be willing to reach out to them or just tell them, and I'm sure they're going to be more than willing to help out. I just want to say thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you are trying to quit, maybe leave a comment or something. I'm more than willing to talk or help out in any way I can. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.